Marissa's voice trembled when she told me. We were standing in our kitchen on a Tuesday morning, and she looked genuinely upset. Her hands were shaking as she held them up to show me her bare finger. I lost it somewhere, she said, tears forming in her eyes. I think it was after yoga class yesterday. I took it off to wash my hands, and I must have forgotten it. I walked over and put my arm around her shoulders. The ring had cost me 3 months' salary 5 years ago. It wasn't expensive by some standards, but it meant everything to me. It represented the promise we made to each other. We'll find it, I told her softly. Let me call the yoga studio. Maybe someone turned it in. She pulled away from me slightly, wiping her eyes. I already called them this morning. They said nothing was in the lost and found. Something felt off about her reaction, but I couldn't place it. Marissa was normally composed, even in crisis. This dramatic display seemed unlike her, but I pushed the thought away. She had lost something precious. Of course, she would be upset. We can retrace your steps, I suggested. Where else did you go yesterday? She thought for a moment, then shrugged. Just yoga, then the grocery store, then home. I don't know, Ethan. It's gone. The way she said it's gone sounded final, like she had already accepted it. Like she wasn't really interested in finding it at all. 3 days later, Marissa organized a dinner party with some colleagues from her work. She was a marketing manager at a tech firm, and her boss, Adrian Burke, was coming. Adrian was the kind of man who commanded attention when he walked into a room. Tall, confident, expensive suits. I had met him twice before and never felt comfortable around him. There was something about the way he looked at Marissa that made my stomach turn. The dinner started pleasantly enough. I grilled steaks in the backyard while Marissa prepared sides in the kitchen. Adrian arrived with 2 other colleagues. Both women I didn't know. They talked about work campaigns and client meetings while I served the food. Then halfway through the meal, Marissa brought up the ring. I lost my wedding ring, she announced to the table with a laugh that seemed forced. Can you believe it? Just vanished into thin air. Adrian looked at me with a smirk. Tough break, man. Those things aren't cheap. Marissa laughed again, louder this time. Well, maybe Ethan needs a raise if he wants to buy me another one. The table went silent for a moment. Heat rushed to my face. The 2 women looked down at their plates. Adrian's smirk widened. I'm sure we'll find it, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. Or maybe I'll just go without one for a while, Marissa said, still smiling. Save us the money. The conversation moved on, but I couldn't shake the humiliation. My wife had just mocked my salary in front of her boss and co-workers. She had reduced our marriage to a transaction, to money I apparently didn't make enough of. The following Monday, Adrian's car wouldn't start in the office parking lot. Marissa called me in a panic because Adrian had an important meeting across town. I worked as an IT technician at a small firm nearby, so I drove over to help. Adrian was standing next to his black BMW, frustrated and checking his watch. Thanks for coming, he said when he saw me. This thing has been acting up lately. I popped the hood and immediately saw the problem. A loose battery cable. Simple fix. While Adrian made phone calls, I tightened the connection and got the engine running. You're a lifesaver, Adrian said, getting into the driver's seat. I owe you one. No problem, I replied, closing the hood. As I walked around to wipe my hands on a rag, I glanced through the passenger window. The glove box was slightly open, and sitting right there on top of some papers was a gold band. A woman's wedding ring. My heart stopped. I looked closer, trying to see if there was any engraving, but Adrian started backing up. The car moved before I could get a better look. I stood there in the parking lot, my mind racing. It couldn't be Marissa's ring. There were thousands of gold wedding bands in the world. But the coincidence felt too strange. Why would Adrian have a woman's wedding ring in his glove box? I drove back to work, but I couldn't focus. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that ring sitting there. That evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I needed to know more without confronting Marissa directly. So I did something I had never done before. I opened her laptop while she was in the shower. My hands shook as I clicked through her email. I felt disgusting, like I was violating her privacy. But the image of that ring kept flashing in my mind. Most of her emails were work-related: client pitches, meeting notes, schedule changes. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A hotel confirmation email from 2 months ago. The Riverside Luxury Hotel. A weekend stay. The same weekend, Marissa told me she was going to a spa retreat with her friend Kelly. I clicked on the hotel website and searched their guest records. My stomach twisted. Adrian Burke had checked in the same weekend. Same hotel. Same dates. I closed the laptop quickly when I heard the shower turn off. My mind was spinning. This couldn't be happening. Marissa and I had our problems. But I never imagined she would cheat. And with her boss? But the evidence was right there. The ring in his car. The hotel weekend. The way she dismissed me at dinner. I needed to know for sure before I did anything. I needed proof. The next morning, I called my sister-in-law, Claire. She had always been protective of me, even critical of Marissa at times. If anyone would tell me the truth, it was her. "Claire, I need to ask you something," I said, keeping my voice low. I was sitting in my car during lunch break. "Have you noticed anything strange about Marissa lately?" There was a long pause on the other end. "What do you mean?" "I found something that doesn't make sense. I think she might be hiding something from me." Another pause. Then Claire sighed deeply. "Ethan, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but I saw her. About 3 weeks ago." My heart pounded. "Saw her where?" "At the Riverside Hotel. I was there for a conference. I saw Marissa in the lobby with a man. They were sitting close, talking. It looked intimate." Quote, "What did the man look like?" "Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. They went into the elevator together." Adrian Burke. It was him. My worst fear was confirmed. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Because I wasn't sure what I saw," Claire said softly. "I thought maybe it was a work meeting. But the way they were looking at each other..." "Ethan, I'm so sorry." I thanked her and hung up. I sat in my car, staring at nothing. My wife was having an affair with her boss, and she had lost her wedding ring, or more likely, taken it off on purpose. I didn't confront Marissa that night. Instead, I started watching her carefully. I noted when she left for work, when she came home, who she texted. I felt like a spy in my own marriage, but I needed to understand the full picture. Over the next week, I noticed patterns. Marissa would say she had late meetings, but when I checked her office building parking lot, her car wasn't there. She would claim she was working on a big campaign, but her laptop showed she was browsing shopping sites and messaging someone whose name wasn't saved in her contacts. One evening, she said she had to fly to another city for a client presentation. She packed a small bag and kissed me on the cheek before leaving. "I'll be back tomorrow night," she said. After she left, I checked her calendar. There was no client meeting scheduled. I called her office and pretended to be a delivery driver. The receptionist told me Marissa had taken personal days. She was lying, and she was getting sloppy about it. 2 weeks after I found the ring in Adrian's car, I went to pay our credit card bill online. When I logged in, I froze. The balance was much higher than I expected. I clicked through the recent charges. Expensive dinners at restaurants we never went to together. Hotel charges. Jewelry purchases. Charges from cities. Marissa claimed to be visiting for work, but that I now knew were lies. Then I saw something that made my hands shake. A cash advance for $5,000, taken out 3 days ago. I checked our joint checking account. It was nearly empty. Marissa had transferred most of our savings to her personal account that I didn't have access to. I called the credit card company. "I need to verify some charges," I told the representative. The woman on the phone reviewed the account. These charges all show authorized, sir. In fact, several of them were made with a card linked to your name, but the signature shows a female holder. What does that mean? It means someone with access to your account information has been making purchases. Do you share this account with anyone? My wife, I said quietly. Then she would have authorization. Is there a problem? No, I said. No problem. But there was a problem. A huge one. Marissa wasn't just having an affair. She was draining our accounts to fund it. I needed help. I couldn't do this alone anymore. So I went to the one place I knew I could think clearly. O'Malley's Bar. A quiet spot downtown where I sometimes went after work. The bartender, Neil Carter, was a man in his 60s with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor. We had talked a few times over the years. He knew I was going through something, even though I hadn't told him what. You look like hell, Neil said, as I sat down. He poured me a whiskey. Without asking, I think my wife is having an affair, I said. The words felt strange coming out of my mouth. Like admitting it made it real. Neil nodded slowly. You think? Or you know? I know, I said. I just don't know what to do about it. Neil leaned against the bar. I used to be a private investigator before I bought this place. Saw a lot of cases like yours. The question isn't whether she's cheating. The question is, what else she's doing. What do you mean? People who cheat usually have other secrets. Money problems. Legal issues. If you want the full picture, you need to dig deeper. I don't even know where to start. Neil reached under the bar and pulled out a small flash drive. A few years ago, I did some work on a guy named Adrian Burke. Big shot at a tech firm. Insurance fraud, shell companies. Nothing ever stuck. But I kept the files. My heart stopped. Adrian Burke? Yeah. You know him? He's my wife's boss. Neil's expression darkened. Then you need to see what's on this drive. Because if she's involved with him, it's not just an affair. It's something much worse. I took the flash drive home and waited until Marissa was asleep. Then, I went into my home office and plugged it into my computer. The files were extensive. Photos, financial documents, email chains. Adrian Burke had been investigated 3 years ago for running a shell company scheme. He would create fake businesses, move money through them, and use other people's names as fronts to avoid detection. The investigation had been dropped due to lack of evidence, but Neil's notes were clear. Adrian was guilty. He had just been smart enough to cover his tracks. I scrolled through the photos. Adrian at expensive restaurants. Adrian at hotels. And then I saw her, Marissa, in several photos. At hotels with Adrian. At restaurants. Getting into his car. The timestamps went back over a year. This wasn't a new affair. This had been going on for a long time, but the worst part was the financial documents. I saw my name, my social security number, my signature, on documents I had never seen before. Adrian had used me as a financial front, and Marissa had helped him do it. I spent the entire next day going through the documents. Marissa had forged my signature on multiple papers. Bank accounts I didn't know existed were opened in my name. A limited liability company was registered with me, listed as the primary officer. I was the fall guy. If anything went wrong with Adrian's schemes, I would be the one blamed. My name was on everything. Permesser. One wrapper. I felt sick. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was about my entire future. If authorities came after Adrian, they would come after me too. I could lose everything. My job, my reputation, my freedom. I called Neil. You were right, I said. It's bigger than I thought. My name is on financial documents I never signed. You need a lawyer, Neil said immediately. And you need to move fast. If Adrian is planning something, You don't want to be around when it happens. What do I do? Gather every piece of evidence you can find. Get copies of everything. And then you expose them both before they can pin anything on you. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Marissa quietly. I wasn't going to let this destroy me. I was going to fight back. The next morning, I called Claire again. I need your help, I told her. I found out Marissa has been forging my signature on financial documents. I need to get into her files. Are you serious? Claire sounded shocked. Completely serious. Can you help me? What do you need me to do? Marissa keeps files in her home office. I need you to come over when she's at work. We need to find everything we can. Claire agreed. 2 days later, while Marissa was at the office, Claire came over. We went into Marissa's home office and started searching through her desk drawers and filing cabinets. What we found was worse than I imagined. Folders full of documents with my forged signature. Bank statements showing transfers of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Email printouts between Marissa and Adrian discussing how to keep Ethan in the dark. There was also a document that made my blood run cold. A letter from the Securities and Exchange Commission. They were opening an investigation into a shell company called Pinnacle Ventures, and I was listed as the founder. I had never heard of Pinnacle Ventures, but my name was all over it. Ethan, this is serious, Claire said, her face pale. You could go to prison for this. I know, I said. That's why I need to stop it before it's too late. That evening, I met with Neil again. I showed him everything Claire and I had found. He spread the documents across the bar and studied them carefully. This is worse than I thought, he said finally. Adrian is about to move a lot of money offshore. And when he does, he's going to report Pinnacle Ventures as fraudulent. You'll be blamed for everything. How do I stop him? You expose him first, publicly. You need to show everyone what he's been doing before he can execute his plan. But how? Who would believe me over him? Neil leaned back. There's a gala event in 2 weeks, big charity fundraiser. Adrian will be there. He's planning to announce a major business expansion that night. It's the perfect opportunity. What do you mean? You go to that gala. You bring the evidence. And you tell everyone the truth. In front of his colleagues, his investors, everyone. You expose him before he can run. My heart pounded. That's insane. It's your only option. If you wait, you'll be arrested. If you run, you'll look guilty. The only way out is to fight back. Publicly. I stared at the documents in front of me. Neil was right. I had no choice. The next day, I went to the bank where Marissa had opened accounts in my name. I asked to speak with a manager. A young woman named Stephanie greeted me in her office. I need to verify some accounts, I said. I believe my identity may have been used without my permission. Stephanie looked concerned. She pulled up the records. These accounts were opened 6 months ago. Do you remember opening them? No. I've never been to this bank before today. She scrolled through the notes. It says here that you called to set up the accounts. We have a recorded phone call from you, authorizing everything. That's impossible. Can I hear the recording? Stephanie hesitated, then played the audio. A voice that sounded like mine said, Yes, I'd like to open a business account under Pinnacle Ventures, but it wasn't me. The voice was similar, but not exact. Someone had called, pretending to be me. This isn't my voice, I said firmly. Someone impersonated me. Stephanie's face went pale. Sir, if that's true, we need to file a fraud report immediately. I'll file a report, I said. But I need copies of everything first. Every transaction, every document. She printed everything for me. When I left the bank, I had a thick folder of evidence showing that my identity had been stolen and used to commit fraud. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced around my house, rehearsing what I would say at the gala. How would I even begin? How could I explain everything without sounding insane? I practiced in front of the mirror in my office. My name is Ethan Cole, and I'm here to tell you the truth about Adrian Burke. The words felt heavy. I imagined standing in front of hundreds of people, all of them staring at me. Marissa would be there. Adrian would be there. I would be destroying my wife's career and reputation, but she had destroyed mine first. I called Claire again. I'm going to do it, I told her. I'm going to expose them at the gala. Are you sure? She asked. Once you do this, there's no going back. I know, but I can't let them destroy my life. I need to fight back. Then I'll help you, Claire said. I'll testify too. I saw them together. I can back up your story. You would do that? Ethan, she used you. She used all of us. Someone needs to stop her. Hearing Claire's support gave me courage. I wasn't alone in this. I had people who believed me. 2 days before the gala, I received an email invitation. It was from Adrian's assistant. Mr. Burke would like to personally invite you to the annual charity gala. Your presence would be appreciated. I stared at the email. Adrian wanted me there. He probably thought I was still clueless, still the obedient husband who would smile and play along. He had no idea what was coming. I replied, I'll be there. Marissa seemed pleased when I told her. Oh good, she said. I was worried you might not want to come. It's a big night for Adrian. He's announcing a major expansion. I wouldn't miss it, I said, keeping my voice neutral. She smiled and kissed my cheek. It felt like poison. The next 2 days crawled by. I finalized my speech. I organized all my evidence into a clear presentation. I practiced until my voice was steady. Neil helped me prepare a backup plan in case security tried to stop me. On the morning of the gala, I woke up with a strange calm. This was it. The moment everything would change. I was terrified, but I was also ready. The gala was held at the Grand Riverside Hotel, the same place where Marissa and Adrian had met in secret. The irony wasn't lost on me. I arrived alone, wearing my best suit. Marissa had left earlier to help set up. The ballroom was massive, filled with chandeliers and round tables covered in white linens. Hundreds of people mingled, holding champagne glasses and laughing. I saw Marissa across the room. She looked beautiful in a long black dress. She was standing next to Adrian, smiling and greeting guests. They looked like the perfect power couple. My stomach turned. I walked to the bar and ordered water. I needed to stay focused. Neil had positioned himself near the sound booth. He gave me a subtle nod. Everything was in place. When the speeches started, I would make my move. I watched as Adrian took the stage. He thanked everyone for coming and talked about the charity they were supporting. Then he started talking about his new business venture. Tonight, I'm excited to announce the expansion of Burke Enterprises into international markets, he said, his voice confident. This represents a new chapter for our company and for everyone involved. The crowd applauded. Marissa beamed from her table. This was my moment. I stood up and walked toward the stage. A few people glanced at me curiously. Security near the entrance shifted, but Neil had already disabled the main lights. The room dimmed slightly, and a spotlight focused on the stage. Adrian paused, confused. He looked out into the crowd. Is there a problem with the lights? I climbed the steps to the stage. Adrian's face changed when he saw me. Confusion, then irritation. Ethan, what are you doing? I took the microphone from his hand. My heart pounded so hard I thought everyone could hear it. But my voice came out steady. My name is Ethan Cole, I said, and I'm here to tell you the truth about the man standing next to me. The crowd went silent. Marissa stood up from her table, her face pale. Adrian tried to grab the microphone back. But Neil had locked the doors. No one was getting in or out. I pulled out my phone and projected an image onto the screen behind me. It was a photo of Marissa's wedding ring, sitting in Adrian's glove box. 3 weeks ago, my wife told me she lost her wedding ring, I said. But I found it. Right here. In Adrian Burke's car. The crowd gasped. Whispers erupted throughout the room. Marissa's face turned red. Adrian tried to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. I projected the next image. The hotel confirmation email. This is proof that my wife and Adrian Burke stayed at this very hotel on the same weekend, while she told me she was at a spa retreat. I hem. More whispers. Some people pulled out their phones, recording. Marissa started walking toward the stage, but Claire stepped in front of her, blocking her path. But that's not all, I continued. Adrian Burke has been running a shell company scheme. He's been using my name and my identity to commit fraud, and my wife helped him do it. Okay, I projected the financial documents, my forged signature, the fake companies, the offshore accounts. I never signed these documents, I said, my voice growing stronger. I never opened these accounts. My identity was stolen and used to create a financial scam, and when the authorities came looking, I would have been the one blamed. Adrian's face had gone from red to white. He tried to leave the stage, but Neil appeared at the steps, blocking his exit. I projected the final document, the SEC investigation letter. The Securities and Exchange Commission is already investigating Pinnacle Ventures, a company I supposedly founded. But I didn't. Adrian Burke did, using my name. The Residually Talages Arding Wellinant. 3. The Residually end of the W's. Weekend said, and as steam, the room erupted in chaos. People were shouting questions. Reporters in the crowd rushed toward the stage. Adrian tried to grab the microphone again, but I held it firm. You used me, I said, looking directly at him. You used my trust, my marriage, my name. You thought I was too stupid or too weak to figure it out. Adrian's jaw clenched. This is slander. I'll sue you for everything. Then sue me, I said. Because I have every document, every email, every piece of evidence backed up and ready to hand over to authorities. Claire climbed onto the stage. I'm Claire Donovan, she said, taking the microphone from me. I'm a witness. I saw Marissa Cole and Adrian Burke together at this hotel 3 weeks ago. I saw them enter a hotel room together. This affair has been going on for over a year. If you being the town, that's Dalder. They're facts.common. The crowd was in full uproar now. Marissa tried to run, but security had finally arrived and blocked the exits. Adrian lunged at me, but 2 security officers grabbed him. I have all the proof I need, I said calmly, and so do the federal investigators who are waiting outside right now. On cue, 3 agents in dark suits entered the ballroom. They walked straight to Adrian. One of them pulled out a badge, Adrian Burke. You're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and financial conspiracy. The room fell silent as they handcuffed him. Adrian's face twisted with rage. This isn't over, he screamed at me. As they led him away, Marissa stood frozen at her table. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Betrayal? Hatred? Regret? It didn't matter anymore. I walked off the stage and headed for the exit. Claire followed me. As we stepped outside into the cool night air, I heard someone start clapping. Then, another person. Then more. By the time I reached my car, half the ballroom was applauding. The next morning, the story was everywhere. News outlets covered Adrian's arrest. Social media exploded with commentary. Adrian Burke's company stocks plummeted. Investors pulled out. His entire empire collapsed in less than 24 hours. Marissa's name was in every article. Her career was over. The tech firm fired her immediately. Her professional reputation was destroyed. I sat in my apartment, watching the news coverage. I had moved out of our house the night of the gala. I couldn't stay there anymore. Too many memories. Too much pain. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanted interviews. Old friends reached out. But I ignored most of them. I needed space to process everything. Claire came over with coffee and breakfast. How are you holding up? she asked. I don't know, I admitted. I feel like I should be relieved. But mostly, I just feel empty. That's normal, she said. You just exposed your wife and destroyed her career. That's not easy, even when they deserve it. I keep thinking about the ring, I said. How she cried when she told me she lost it. It was all an act. Everything was an act. A week later, I went back to the house to pack my things. Marissa wasn't there. She had moved in with her parents, according to Claire. I walked through the rooms slowly, taking in all the places where we had built a life together. The kitchen where we used to cook breakfast on Sundays, the living room where we watched movies, the bedroom where we had once been happy. It all felt like a lie now. I packed boxes methodically. Clothes, books, personal items. I left most of the furniture. I didn't want any of it. It all carried her presence, and I needed a clean start. In the bedroom, I found the small box where Marissa kept jewelry. I opened it, curious. Inside was a note. Ethan, if you're reading this, it means you found out. I'm sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. But I couldn't stop. Adrian promised me a better life. More money. More status. I thought I wanted those things more than I wanted us. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. Her apology meant nothing now. On the kitchen table, I left her wedding ring. The one I had found in Adrian's car. I placed it in a small wooden box with a label that read, Truth. Truth. Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. A month after the gala, I met with Neil at his bar. He poured me a whiskey and sat down across from me. You did the right thing, he said. I know it doesn't feel like it yet. But you did. I destroyed my marriage, I said. I destroyed Marissa's career. I ruined lives. They destroyed their own lives, Neil corrected. You just made sure you didn't go down with them. Neil slid a piece of paper across the bar. I have a proposal for you. The upstairs office space here has been empty for years. I was thinking about starting something. A support group for people who have been emotionally manipulated or financially abused. Why me? Because you've been through it. You survived it. And you fought back. People need to hear stories like yours. I looked at the paper. It was a lease agreement for the office space. Below, it was a mission statement Neil had drafted. A safe space for survivors of emotional and financial abuse to share their stories and rebuild their lives. I'll think about it, I said, but deep down, I already knew I would do it. 3 months later, I hosted the first meeting. 12 people showed up. Mostly men, but a few women too. They sat in a circle in the small office above O'Malley's bar. I stood at the front, nervous. My name is Ethan Cole, I began. And I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you my story. I told them everything. The ring, the affair, the financial fraud, the gala, the arrests, the aftermath. When I finished, the room was silent. Then, a young man in the back raised his hand. His eyes were wet. That's exactly what happened to me, he said, his voice breaking. My girlfriend took out credit cards in my name, maxed them all out, then left me with the debt. I thought I was the only one stupid enough to let it happen. You're not stupid, I said firmly. You were manipulated. Others started sharing their stories. A woman whose husband had stolen her inheritance. A man whose business partner had betrayed him. An older gentleman whose son had drained his retirement account. We talked for 3 hours. When the meeting ended, everyone thanked me. They said they felt less alone, less ashamed. That's when I knew this was my purpose now. Helping others who had been through what I experienced. Giving them a voice and a community. 1 year after the gala, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Marissa. I almost threw it away without opening it. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a single page. Ethan, I know you probably hate me. I hate myself too. I made choices that hurt you in ways I can never undo. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I see now what I lost. Not the money or the career, but you. You were the best thing in my life. And I threw you away for something that was never real. I hope you find happiness. You deserve it. I read the letter twice, then placed it in the wooden box with her wedding ring. Then I locked it in a drawer. I didn't need to look at it anymore. That evening, I went to the support group meeting. 20 people showed up this time. The group was growing. People were healing, including me. I stood in front of them and shared a new realization. What was lost wasn't the ring, I said. It was me. I lost myself trying to hold on to someone who never truly valued me. But now, I'm found. And I'm never letting myself disappear again. The group nodded. Some cried. After the meeting, I walked outside. The night air was cool and clear. Stars filled the sky. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not free from pain, but free from the lies that had bound me. Truth buried doesn't stay buried. It waits, patient and relentless, for the right hands to dig it up and bring it into the light. And I had finally found those hands. They were my own.